morning, everyone. It is still morning, you know, so I can say that. So to give you a little background, I am from the great state of Wisconsin. You know, any of you heard of the Green Bay Packers in the NFL? All right. So I'm a Packer fan because they throw you out of Wisconsin if you don't cheer for the Green Bay Packers. That's almost true. But I was born and raised in Wisconsin. My father was a cheesemaker in Wisconsin for many years, and my first stint at sales after college was in the cheesemaking industry. Well, I'm not going to talk about cheesemaking because you probably don't care that much about cheesemaking. You probably like cheese though, right? Raise your hand if you like to eat cheese. All right, so now next time I come to one of these, I'll maybe bring some Wisconsin cheese. Can I do that, or would I get in trouble in Canada?
Is it real cheese or is it plastic like lots of it is nowadays? Bring the curds.
Oh man, I bring the real stuff.
Bring the curds.
I can bring the world champion cheese.
You'd be okay, just declare it.
Yeah.
Don't not declare it.
So now I've set a precedent. Now I'm going to have to do it, right? But now you're going to have to come back to get it. So that's a good thing too, right?
I don't know how the cheese companies can dare put cheese on those jars, but I think it's plastic in there.
That's what I say too. So this is kind of funny because I travel a lot and I go to restaurants in Wisconsin, and I will ask the waitress if the cheese is real or if it's plastic, and they look at me like, what? And I just say, is it real cheese or is it the fake stuff? And I won't order it if it's the fake stuff. And they look at me like, oh my gosh, you're so rude. It's like, come on, this is Wisconsin, the cheese capital of the U.S., you know. It's kind of funny though. So I'm going to have Mike help me because I like some interaction. I'm not a lecturer, and that drives me crazy because when I was in college, if I had to sit in a class and just listen to a lecturer all day, it was painful. It was torture. So I'm going to have a little bit of interaction here. I hope that's okay. This is my first time in Canada, this part of Canada. I should add in 911, you know, when the Twin Towers and all that stuff happened. I was living, and my family, we were living in Malaysia at the time. My father had passed away about 4 days before that happened. We happened to be flying back when the Twin Towers episode happened. And guess where we were forced to land? Calgary. We were forced to land in Calgary, got stranded there for 4 days, and I missed my father's funeral by 6 hours. But I can tell you the people in Calgary were wonderful. They were very courteous, very understanding. And the hotel that we were staying at, me and my daughter, I could look up on the hillside and see the ski jump from the Olympics, right? But you couldn't go any place. You couldn't even tour the Calgary because at any moment the bus was maybe going to leave to go to the airport. But anyway, so I haven't spent a lot of time in Canada, so it's a real privilege to be here. I'm excited about the products. I was with a company for 12 years in agriculture, and that's where I really learned about, I'm going to call it biological farming and organic farming and conventional farming. And so I've been on a journey, I guess you could say, the last 12 years. The company I worked for, they used Redmond salt and conditioner. So some things happened at that company, and I became unemployed, and I got a hold of Redmond, and because I knew the products, I knew they worked, I knew Wendell maybe a little bit, but I knew some of the other folks at Redmond a little bit better, and I worked out that now I'm with Redmond. But if you're going to sell and market something, you better believe in it, right? And I really believe in the Redmond products. They work great on the human side, the livestock side, and now guess what? I'm going to try and figure out why they work well on the soil. All right, but what we're going to do is I'm going to have Mike help me, and he's going to hand the mic around the room. So here's your chance to participate. And I want you to answer one question, okay? I want you to answer the first thought that comes to your mind when you hear the word soil. There's no right or wrong answer. I want you to be totally honest, okay? I won't be offended. Nobody in this room will be offended. So don't think too much about it. Just think of when you hear the word soil, what comes to your mind? It can be a positive word, it can be a negative word, but please help me with this. So Mike, go ahead and...
Where's this mic?
So the mic is right up on the... right over there.
Podium?
So on the podium, just turn it on, and you can start out. All right. So Mike, what do you think of when you hear the word soil? First thought? Dirt. All right. That's a problem right there. We're going to work on that.
I normally think about hydroponics
Interesting. Okay.
because what we're doing is we leach the soils now out of all the minerals, and that's why we need to add them. And we're doing it with naturally with fertilizers, as in pig manure, chicken manure, but we can also add it through other sources.
Okay. Interesting.
Nope.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it, but I would appreciate at least some of you doing it.
Gary?
I know you like to talk.
Gary's ready.
I know you like to talk, so you'll...
Okay, he's ready.
Well, when it comes to soil, I worry about our soil,
Okay.
where it's going nowadays. I mean, we used to either straight cut or swat everything off. And now there's more of the spraying everything. And that's taking all the good stuff out of our soil. If the good stuff isn't in the soil, it can't be in the plant.
Yeah. Perfect.
So I really worry about it. I don't know where that's going to go.
Okay.
It's going to cost us.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say.
Okay, just real quick on one thing I think, Vince, and I'm actually named after Vince Lombardi, and my parents are big Packers fans, so mine.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
true story, Vince Lombardi, that's where my name came from, Green Bay Packers, maybe. Anyway, I think the soil, just really quick, is that it's a finite resource. We're under urban pressure. The first thing that comes to my mind is it's disappearing quickly due to urbanization and development.
Yeah.
So what that means is we have to get more out of what we have.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge.
Thank you. So we are going to get to the PowerPoint, but what I have learned over the journey I've been on over the last 12 years is that I've had a lot of the same thoughts that you have, especially with concerns about what is going to happen to our land in the world, not just Canada, not just the United States, but the world. The population is not decreasing, correct? Raise your hand if the population is decreasing. It's increasing, okay? It's increasing. The amount of land, the amount of farmland is decreasing. That means that we better take care of our land, and what's going to happen is the governments are going to get more and more involved in farming because they're going to force farmers to be environmentally conscious about the land. So what excites me about Redmond, what excites me about biological farming, organic farming, conventional farmers who want to implement healthier soil management practices is that'll automatically is a positive response and a positive solution to that big issue. So you've maybe heard that the big controversy about can we feed the world organically? How many of you have heard that or read some of that debate? It's very interesting, isn't it? I'm not here to take sides today, but I can tell you that we can feed the world if farmers would implement healthier soil management practices, whether that's conventional farming, organic farming, or somewhere in between, which is biological farming. Either way, the Redmond soil program, as I'm calling it, can fit all of those three types of farming. Okay, and we're going to get into that. So you're going to see some of these over and over again, and they say if you hear something 3 times, it might stick. They also say that about your average person, you're only going to remember about 10% of what you hear. So that means when you leave here today, you're only going to remember 10%. So that's why you got to come back again, right, sometime. So nature has a right. That's one of the things I want you to remember. Okay, we're going to get more into that as we go along. We keep it simple. So do you think that the soil is simple? Raise your hand if you think the soil is simple. They say the soil system is one of your most complicated biological systems on Earth, and we know the least about it. Crafted by farmers. Neil, I don't know if you know it, and Wendell, make sure I get this story straight. Neil's family was instrumental. That's the farm where the Redmond salt is mined, right? Was that parents or grandparents?
Neil's father and uncle
Father and uncle.
were farming, and we had a drought. They didn't know how to take care of the family, but north of them and south of them, people were harvesting this salt or sea mineral. So they figured if they had it and the other ones had it, they're in the middle, they ought to have it. So they got a cat and they pushed off about 30 feet of dirt, and there it was. So they became sea mineral harvesters rather than alfalfa harvesters.
And that was 50 years ago, and they are motivated by some tough farm economy, and the rest is history. So it's just a quick overview. We're going to focus on the feed quality, that it's a simple program, simple to use, I should say. We're going to look a little bit at the cost benefit and the application. What are the ways you can apply Redmond salt and conditioner to your soil? So feed quality, and I need to preface this by saying the company I was with used Redmond salt and conditioner mainly for livestock nutrition. I wasn't aware to what degree customers were using Redmond products on the soil. So all of a sudden I get hired by Redmond, and oh yeah, Tim, by the way, one of your key projects is to focus on the soil. So you know what, just like probably a lot of you and a lot of farmers around the country, I was a little skeptical. It's like, geez, I'm used to fertilizer and ingredients, and I know soil, but adding salt to our soil, why would we want to do that? Adding clay back into soil where there's already clay, why in the world would I want to do that? So I've had to overcome skepticism, and I've been with Redmond now 3 whole months, so the honeymoon period is not over. But I'm learning, and I've really overcome that skepticism based on comments I've gotten from customers all around the country. And I'm excited about this because I think we have some really good ideas why these products are working so well on soil. So feed quality is one of them. If a farmer is using a balanced fertility program and they have healthy soils, the farmer will improve the feed quality. Soil is the foundation of every farm, right? Let's think about that. It's crucial. Healthy soil leads to healthy plants, leads to healthy animals, leads to healthy people. I truly believe that. They're all linked. It's a synergistic effect. You can't separate the two. When I first got into agriculture, it drove me crazy. I started out as a consultant calling on producers like yourself, and this was a lot of dairy farms in Wisconsin, and it drove me crazy that the agronomist and the nutritionist would not talk in many, many cases. Instead of sharing information and working as a team, one would look at the other and say, You stay off my turf. You focus on the nutrition. Rob, you focus on the nutrition, but don't you dare talk to me about the soil, about the agronomy, and vice versa. And that is a huge mistake on a farm. Huge. Because you can't disconnect the two. They're joined at the hip. So some of the feed quality tests we've seen, the positive things, is Brix level. Do you guys know what Brix is? So it's basically the measurement of sugars in a plant. And it's representative of optimum photosynthesis, so conversion of the energy from the sun to nutrients to that plant. So we have seen time and time again when we do feed tests that the Brix levels increase. And I'm not going to go through every one of them, but here in Idaho, alfalfa, Utah grass, and Nebraska corn, you can see the blue line is taller than the green, and that is a consistent pattern we have seen. The next one.
What application rate on that?
So here's the thing. I wish I could tell you right now. What's that?
Can you go back again?
So the number on the left there, that's the actual Brix level. So you can see the blue was anywhere from 12 to 19, it looks like.
We've had people get as high as 25 Brix.
Yeah.
And that is too hot for the liver if you're feeding pasture alfalfa. A mix of grass and alfalfa, that's what the guy has out just right east of Boise, Idaho, or west of Boise, Idaho. And he had to back her down. Well, it was actually on the Oregon side. He had to back it down around 20 to, otherwise it was too hot for the cattle.
So Brix is a sign of plant quality. Somebody asked about the usage rate. Who was that? Okay, Bart. So
We'll get into some of that.
we are. So just hold that thought, okay? So another one is total digestible nutrients, TDN. So kind of the total nutrients available in a plant. Measures a lot of different things. It's used in measuring feed quality, especially for dairy. So you can see a definite improvement on that too. Negative control did not have any product on it at all. Okay, we just wanted to see what would happen when we would compare it to a farmer putting nothing on and a farmer putting on Redmond, typically Redmond salt and conditioner, combination of both of those. Relative feed value. Again, we see the same characteristics. A big improvement. We could have a debate on what are the right levels for RFV. In Wisconsin, they say 150 is kind of the target. If you can beat 150, you're really, really doing well. But you know, weather plays into that a lot. Timing, a producer's management plays into that. So here's the other thing, is fertilizer is part of healthy soil management practices. It's only part of it. It's an important part, but your management practices is even more important. I used to tell my clients, it's like you can have the best soil, you can use the best fertilizer program, but if the farmer does not harvest the crop at the right time, if they don't store it properly, if they don't feed it properly, and if the animal doesn't eat it properly, guess what? They're not going to get a return on that healthy soil and good fertilizer program. So we got to keep that in mind. There's no miracle products out here. None. Doesn't work that way. Calcium. You think calcium is important for milk production, for animals? Huge. Rob, why is calcium important? And you know, what does it do? Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. So again, in most of the cases, we saw a big improvement on calcium. And this is interesting because Redmond conditioner only has 5% calcium. Did you know that? And the Redmond salt, I don't need, has much, much lower. I don't even think it's 1%. I think it's under 1%. So how come we see calcium uptake in plants when we're only putting on maybe 5 to 10 pounds of calcium on your soil? How in the world can that happen? I don't have an answer for that. I have some guesses, but I don't have an answer. Boron seems to follow it. Seems like when the calcium goes up, it seems like the boron goes up. And it's really hard to increase boron in feed. Calcium and boron kind of work together is what I've been trained in the soil. We call calcium the trucker of all nutrients, and we call boron the steering wheel. And they work together. Magnesium. We've seen overall an uptake of magnesium. Magnesium is the main element in chlorophyll, which is at the center of photosynthesis for a plant. So magnesium uptake is absolutely crucial in your crop. The right amount of magnesium in your plant will give you that nice dark, rich green color, plays a big role in that. Versus too much nitrogen will give you a lot of vegetative growth in green, but it won't be that dark, rich green. It'll be a different shade of green. I'm not picking on nitrogen, but just there's a difference in the color of a healthy plant. Manganese, you see overall some of the same there. Now these tests have been going on. I asked, I think it was Aaron, I asked him, how long have we been looking at running these tests? And Wendell, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's been about over the last 5 years we've been looking at this deeper.
I've been as an employee 5 years, and they were maybe a few years before that we started having a little bit of information.
Okay. I asked Neil, I said, Neil, how long have you been aware of Redmond customers using salt and or conditioner? And he says, oh, it's been, many, many years. Over 10 years for sure. Here we can see the average. This is off a tissue test. So this is not off of a feed test, but it's off of a tissue test where you test the leaves versus a harvested product or a harvested crop. So zinc went up, sodium went up a little bit, which would be expected from the Redmond salt, the amount of sodium in that. And then, so the Becker nematode index, and Wendell, I might have to have you give some input on this too. But Dr. Becker was a researcher, independent researcher that he was doing some studies for us a few years back. And he did studies for 2 years, and unfortunately he came down with pancreatic cancer and passed away. But he was seeing some really cool positive things on the soil. And one of them was he saw the manganese uptake that we showed earlier, and he showed this Becker nematode index. So nematodes, you got good nematodes, bad nematodes. It's a big challenge in a lot of crops. Well, putting on Redmond salt that I think it was 25 to 50 pounds an acre, huge reduction in, over half reduction in the control versus the treated. So that salt, and Wendell, maybe you can shed some light as to what the salt would do to control those nematodes. I don't know. All I know is it helped get rid of the bad nematodes. Was it the combination of nutrients? Was it the ratio? I don't know. But I just know that's a positive thing. And we want to do more research on that. The parasitic nematodes, again, you can see the numbers. Big improvement on that. Okay, the program is also simple. What I've learned over the last 12 years is it's really crucial to have the right balance in your, we're going to say, fertilizer program, okay? And we believe that Redmond products are nature's perfect balance. We didn't come up with it in a lab, right? Our Creator came up with it. Our Creator created it, and it's perfect. The ratios are right. And I want you to think about this. If a company tried to develop a fertilizer like this, would they be able to do it? Who thinks they could do it? With 60 plus elements at the perfect ratio, it couldn't be done. It wouldn't be cost effective. You could never find the ingredients. You'd never get those ratios right because some of them are so small. You got a combination of major nutrients, secondary nutrients, micronutrients, rare earth minerals. It doesn't get any better than that. The right combination, you got that, the right results. We're seeing that in these feed tests that we've seen. And from all the stories and testimonials we're getting back. I talk to farmers constantly who are using these products, and it's just been great to see that, because I thought I would maybe have to, I thought there'd be just a few farmers here and there that were using these products. That's not the case. They've been using them all different ways and rates, and so it's been exciting to see that. So why Redmond salt? Have you heard of electrical conductivity? Many of you familiar with that? So basically, it's the measure of material's ability to conduct an electrical charge. So it's the movement of electricity or energy through a material. I kind of look at it as, it's like the soil, it's a battery, right? And to have products that create a good electrical energy will keep that battery charged. You want to keep your soil charged because that's energy. That's going to create a healthier plant, healthier biology. It's going to be able to do its thing. You're going to get more minerals up into the plant because of that. I can tell you that Redmond salt, the conductivity is off the charts. Important indicator of soil health. It affects crop yields, plant nutrient availability, and activity of soil microorganisms. Kind of the efficiency of cations and anions, which are positive and negative charged elements through the soil. If you have something that can help move those through the soil, they're going to get up into the plant. You're going to have a healthier plant. That's one of the big things that Redmond salt helps with. We're convinced of that. Nature's perfect balance. We test for 60 plus nutrients in salt and conditioner, but there's close to 90. We know that. We just haven't tested for all of them. These are the top ones. And you can see the sodium 35, chloride 57. It goes on down through. So the levels aren't important because I trust the levels. I mean, we could possibly pick them apart and say, oh, the iron's too heavy or this is too heavy, but sooner or later I just believe, hey, the Creator didn't make a mistake. Seawater is not, there's not a mistake in seawater. Chloride, this is where I kind of mentioned, what? Put chloride or put salt on your soil? Why in the world would we want to do that? Well, the reality of it is every mineral has a salt index. It's kind of the harshness of the saltiness of it. And the thing is, chloride is an essential element. It's extremely important. It's for photosynthesis, enhances manganese availability, increases beneficial organisms, better nitrogen utilization. In fact, one of the main benefits of micronutrients and rare earth minerals is they work with major nutrients to help them become more available to the crop. Again, that's synergism where they work together. That's key. Improves plant ability to resist stress and disease. essential for photosynthesis. That's why you need chloride. Now, the overuse of chloride is a negative thing, but that's no different than the overuse of nitrogen, overuse of phosphorus, the overuse of potassium. It doesn't matter. You need to have balance in your soil, mineral balance, just like you need to have mineral balance in livestock, right? I used to ask farmers this question. Look at the time and energy and the science that goes into running a ration for livestock. Have you ever thought about that? Why don't we spend that same time, attention, money towards the soil? You know how I look at the soil? The soil is the rumen of the plant. Okay, if you're going to take one thing away today, that would be it. The soil is the rumen of the plant. So you're looking for that mineral balance in the soil just like you're looking for that mineral balance in livestock nutrition. Here's the other thing that was one of those wow moments for me, those aha moments. You ever have those? It's like, well, this makes sense. It's kind of like an enlightening. Well, I started looking at the nutrient removal on pure alfalfa. I don't know, is up here, is 6 ton a pretty good yield up here? 6 ton of pure alfalfa? That's pretty good. So in Wisconsin, it's only 4 ton is the state average. But that's because there's a lot of variation of soil. But 6 tons pretty nice. I worked with farmers that got, the company I was with was not unheard of to get 8 to 10 ton of dry matter in alfalfa. We had a whole, we call it the 10-ton club, and there was only a certain group of farmers that had the soil, had the management, had the program to be able to do that. But in 6 ton, this is crazy to me. That's the amount of potash, 300 pounds. Amount of calcium, 180. Phosphate, 70. Chloride's about 40. Sulfur's about 30. And magnesium is about 30. How many, I'm guessing up here, potassium chloride is one of your main fertilizer ingredients. Okay, every 100 pounds of chloride has got 47 pounds of chloride in it. Okay, it's got 60 pounds of potassium, 47 pounds of chloride. So 100 pounds is basically going to meet that need. You think the agronomists are recommending to put only 100 pounds of potassium chloride on alfalfa? Typically not. Anyway, in Wisconsin, they're recommending 300 to 600. So that creates a huge amount of imbalance is what it does. So that sodium chloride, the Redmond salt, can really provide some crucial chloride on a farm. And I think it's a different kind of chloride than what's in potassium chloride. So why Redmond conditioner? Cation exchange capacity. I don't want to bore you with some of these terms. It's basically the gas tank of the soil, the ability of the soil to hold and release nutrients. The Redmond conditioner or the clay has a high CEC, a high capacity. It also holds moisture, helps your soil structure, helps it more like a sponge, helps your soil aggregate so you get more air in it, more openness, open air space. So it's a blend of volcanic ash, and actually there's a small amount of Redmond salt in it. But it's quite low, very low. I think the percent of sodium chloride in it's about 2.5%. So remember this, the conditioner and the salt have the same combination of nutrients, but the levels and the ratios are different. One reason why they complement each other. Again, contains the 60 plus minerals. Has the ability to detoxify microbial life in the soil, just like in the rumen of a cow. Assists an enzyme function in soil and just like in the animals. Neil could talk all day about this, so if you want to ask him more questions about the science behind all that, he'll be glad to answer that too. Cost benefit, we don't have a lot of cost benefits at this point because the rates are jumping all over the board. So I can't just tell you exactly what we've seen. This is an example of one though. So this was dryland wheat in Montana, you can see that. The revenue per acre was $296 and $331 on the Redmond program. Cost per acre, $17, about $18 and about $8. The net revenue per acre is $278 on the control and $322, about $323 with the Redmond program. Now you can see on the control they used 50 pounds of 1152O, which is MAP, and they used 85 pounds of 4600, which is urea. Okay, on the Redmond program, they used 50 pounds of 70% conditioner, 30% Redmond salt, and they used 85 pounds, same amount of urea. Pretty hard to pull nitrogen off your wheat. That's pretty risky. It's like pulling nitrogen off your corn. That's pretty risky too. You can earn the right to do that as your soils get healthier. It's amazing the rate of nitrogen, how you can drop it. On corn, on healthy soil, I've seen regularly, kind of the industry standard is 1 unit of nitrogen per bushel of corn. I've seen it as low as a half of that. Purchase nitrogen. So what happens, you earn the right as your soils become healthier and your soils become more efficient. You use more nitrogen that's in the atmosphere and in the biology and your organic matter. You tap into that instead of needing to buy it. And there's huge cost savings in that. Now you have to work towards that, you have to commit to that, and you have to earn the right to get to that point. But I've witnessed it, it can be done, and it can be, you can go a long ways in 3 years. Or just by changing your source of ingredients for fertilizer, you can even reduce 20% your first year. So application. I kind of look at it like this. So we've hit the target. We want to zero in on the bullseye. We want to hit the bullseye. So on salt, this is based on a lot of different trials and a lot of different testimonials. And we've come up with 25 to 100 pounds an acre seems to be a good range. That's if you use the salt. If you use a conditioner, 100 to 200 pounds an acre. So you use that separate, you can use that together. SR65 is a real nice product where you've got 2/3 conditioner and 1/3 salt. And 200 to 300 pounds an acre is a nice rate. So what we don't know at this point is that a standalone program? I'm not ready to stand up here and say yes it is. I can say with confidence that I believe this is as good a micronutrient program as there is out there in the industry. But I wouldn't advise that you would abandon your NP and K yet at this time. I can tell you we have producers, one guy in Idaho, Steve Campbell, he uses over the last 5 years, all he has used is 200 pounds of SR65 on his pasture. That's it. Now, a lot of folks would say, what about the nitrogen? I got to put on nitrogen. And I was talking to Bart, I think it was, and you know, a lot of times the industry will recommend 100 plus units of nitrogen after every cutting on pasture. And he's putting 0? and he hasn't seen any drop in yield? How can that be? You know, we want to answer more and more the how and the why. And I think, hopefully, as you hear what we're saying today, you can start to grasp how and why this is happening. It doesn't mean we can explain it 100%, but do we have to explain it 100%? Will we ever be able to explain it 100%? I don't think we will, because it's too complicated of a program. You're working with live biology in the soil. They're still finding different species of bacteria. You know, it's amazing. In a gram of soil, I believe there's 15 to 18,000 different species of bacteria in 1 gram. That's like the size of a paper clip. So you don't think that that's a complicated system and a complicated balance? All I know is if we provide an environment to take better care of that, that's going to be to the advantage of the farmer. So that's what we know so far. Foliar application of the salt, 3 to 5 pounds an acre, 4 to 5 times a year. We typically mix it in probably a day in advance. You'll get a little bit of settling, because remember, Redmond salt is a pure product. We don't purify it, we don't refine it, it is what it is. So you get a little bit of settling. Some people will filter it or screen it a little bit and then mix it with, you know, typically I think it goes on probably 25 gallons per acre or more. And we're seeing wonderful response doing that. Conditioner's a little different story, because conditioner settles and you got to take the water off the top. But it's just, you know, it's clay, it's dirty water, and we just haven't done a lot of research on it. We do have some farmers that do it, but not everybody wants to mess around with it yet.
What's the benefits of foliar?
So foliar, so my opinion is, and what I've seen, if you study Soil Science 101, the main way that a plant gets its nutrients is still through the soil. But for that to happen, you have to have the right conditions in the soil. Due to weather stresses, due to other stresses, could be compaction, it could be lack of biology, a farmer could have deader soils. Foliar can help complement a dry program.
Is it also helping on the side of mycotoxins?
Well, the conditioner helps more with the mycotoxins than the Redmond salt. So if you're putting on the, you know, you're putting on the Redmond conditioner dry, that would definitely, I feel, would help with it. So you could, you know, we have some that would put on Redmond conditioner and salt together dry and then come in with a foliar yet. That's only going to cost you a couple bucks, you know, to do that foliar. It's a very inexpensive foliar program to do that. So you have options. Other application options is you can mix it with other products. We haven't seen any problems with mixing it with like liquid fish or compost. In fact, a lot of individuals, we have a lot of customers that'll add it to their compost. They'll add the Redmond salt to their compost. They feel there's big benefits. Mix it with other fertilizers. We have guys that'll do that. I would caution, I'd be careful about putting it right down in the furrow on the seed. Typically you don't do that with any chloride. There's risk at doing that. I have a feeling that the Redmond salt might be gentle enough where you could do it, but we haven't experimented with that. So typically you're going to do it off to the side, 2 by 2, or you're going to broadcast it. But you could, again, I think it'd be a great part of a NP&K program. I don't think you could go wrong. And just like if you think of a ration for for livestock, poultry? Are you only looking at protein? Are you only looking at phosphorus? Are you only looking at potassium? No, you're looking at secondary nutrients, you're looking at micronutrients. So why not add that to your soil program? You're feeding the biology. You're not feeding the plant, you're feeding the biology. The biology feeds the plant. Now if you go foliar and you bypass that system, then you're actually feeding the plant through the leaves. Or however much runs down into the soil, which you then be feeding it through the roots. In my feeling, the ideal program is a good dry program and a good liquid program. And I say that because of the extreme weather conditions we're having now. It's hard to be able to just make it happen, in my opinion, with the dry program anymore. There's just too many stresses for farmers these days. So, the big question is, why not SR65? Why not Redmond Salt and Conditioner? Why not find a way to work it into your program, or why not find a way to use it? Simple, nature has a right, cost effective, provides results. I'm totally convinced of all three of those, and it's just a matter of figuring out how it fits in your operation. Any questions? We could talk about soil a long time. I'm more than happy to talk to you individually about it as well. I know right now you're probably got a lot of thoughts running through your head, right, on the soil and what these products can do. I want to thank you for your attention, and Bart, you're going to say something now, right?
My name is Bart Levitt, and I own Taurus Natural out of Cardston, Alberta. It was us that brought this thing together. We have a long history with Redmond. It goes back before I was born, actually, to be honest. A fellow by the name of Glenn Atwood started bringing chunks of rock salt up from the Redmond mine before there was even a Redmond mine. It was their competitors to the north and the south that were supplying that salt before the Bouchard boys ever started digging for it. That was back in about 1952, and I wasn't quite there yet. I've been promoting and bringing up Redmond products to Alberta, Western Canada, since '95. That's when I started. I bought the company Taurus from Glenn Atwood, and we've always been really convinced about the salt. We always felt like it was a great product. Not everybody agreed with us. A lot of people said salt is salt, and we just kept flogging at it and so forth. I don't think even Neil knew that what he had there with conditioner until fairly recently. And we've been a little bit slow adopting this Redmond conditioner as well, the montmorillonite clay, because we weren't sure yet. But there's been enough evidence we can't deny it anymore. We need to go ahead and start promoting. It seems like there's a synergistic effect between the two, between the Redmond salt and the Redmond conditioner. I don't know if the creator put them both together in the same site because he knew that they would work well together, or it was just chance. But I like to believe the former. We partnered a little bit with Redmond back in 2005, and we actually make the salt blocks that Redmond sells down in our company did right next to their mine. We have a salt plant there where we press the blocks. So we've got a history with Redmond. They're great people, and we've really kind of getting excited, and that's why Robert has been out to pretty well all of the colonies in Alberta in the last 2 or 3 months, just to tell everybody about what we're finding and what we're excited about. And the other thing we're doing is we're partnering with other people like Rob, who's stood up here to talk to you. He's been doing this. He adopted a strong attitude about the conditioner a little before we did. Even though we've got a long history with Redmond, we weren't quite ready. We weren't sure yet. What we are is a kind of a logistics manager for these products. We get them here the best way we can, and we also have mixing capabilities to be able to blend. At this point in time, the conditioner and the salt are only available out of Redmond as single ingredients, because Canadian Food Inspection won't give us the green light to mix them unless they're registered, and they won't register the mix. So it has to be done in Canada as a customer formulation. So as soon as you sign on the line that you want this mix in this particular done in this particular way, then it can be done legally, but we can't bring it across the border in that form. So we're a bit limited in how we can do that. We are ramping up our facility to be able to handle this batching in a more efficient way. Right now it's a little bit cumbersome for us to load a semi-truck with a mix of salt and conditioner, but within the next 2 or 3 months we should be able to do that quite effectively. So basically that's where we're at and why we brought you together. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it.